presentation, we will be covering those pathologies which can be addressed with arthroscopy following the total knee replacement, apart from the Patella-Klunk syndrome. Patella-Klunk syndrome has been covered in another video. Now, apart from Patella-Klunk syndrome, there are other pathologies which can be addressed with an arthroscopic procedure. One of them is a tethered patella syndrome. Now, tethered patella syndrome is a patellofemoral dysfunction following total knee arthroplasty due to intra-articular fibrous bands. According to their locations, the band have been classified into three types, and arthroscopic resections of intra-articular bands leads to resolution of symptoms in most of the cases. Type 1 is a transverse fibrous band at the junction between the patella and the quadriceps tendon. Type 2 is a longitudinal band in the lateral parapatellar gutter, and type 3 is a band in the infrapatellar region. Now, PCL impingement. Now, patients usually come with severe posterior knee pain while flexing of the knee over 70 degrees to 90 degrees, which increases posterior translation of the tibia. This is seen when the PCL stump from the intercondylar notch gets entrapped in the medial tibiofemoral joint, resulting in severe posterior pain. And this is seen in a posterior stabilized joint. Now, this residual stump can get incarcerated and interfere with CAM mechanism of the knee, preventing any further flexion. Now, occasionally there can be cementophytes which can be excised with arthroscopy, and they can be impinging. Now, lateral subluxation of patella can be there, and you can do a lysis of parapatellar adhesions, do arthroscopic lateral release, and you can do it either inside out or outside in. Now, occasionally there can be an intercondylar fibrous nodule after total knee replacement, and this can be addressed with arthroscopic procedure. Now, this is a picture from an article by Caro and Suarez, which shows an intercondylar notch fibrous nodule after a total knee replacement. Now, intercondylar notch impingement is another situation in which it is more common in PS as compared to a CR, and the situation from the mass, apart from other clinical symptoms, affect the extension, creating a mechanical block. So intercondylar notch, there is a impingement phenomenon, and the full extension is impaired. Now, cyclops, again, there is a pain and stiffness both in flexion and extension. The terminology is borrowed from ACL, and there is a deficit in motion. This is one of the causes of flexion contracture of the knee after total knee replacement. And this thickened fibrotic nodule is seen in intercondylar notch. Usually it impinged at about 25 degrees of flexion position between the polyethylene peg, intercondylar notch, and prosthetic trochlea, blocking the further extension. Now, you can have peg fracture of the polyethylene insert, which can cause this problem. So this is a case report from Kruger, in which they reported 2 cases of peg fracture of the polyethylene insert. Now, cruciate retaining knee of the knee with stiffness can be addressed with arthroscopic release of the PCL, and the indication is when the PCL is taut in the flexion. Now, popliteal dysfunction is when the pain is located in the posterolateral area of the knee, and this is a cause of early pain after the arthroplasty. The pinching or protrusion of popliteus tendon from the anterior to posterior caused by a residual lateral osteophyte, by the lateral prominence of the femoral component, or by a posterior prominence during the extension of a tibial tray of inadequate size can cause a popliteal dysfunction. The treatment is surgical release of popliteal tendon either by open surgery or a arthroscopy. Now, posterolateral impingement of the degenerative tissue inflection can be seen, and that can be excised with an arthroscopic procedure. Now, posterolateral approach is described by Westerman et al., and they have described a technique of arthroscopic release of popliteus tendon after total knee arthroplasty using an anterolateral portal and an accessory lateral vision portal created under the direct visualization. approximately 4 centimeter posterior to the anterolateral portal. And with this technique, the arthroscopic release immediately alleviates the pain. Now, pseudomeniscus is a fibrous tissue. Its etiopathogenesis is debatable and its treatment is removal. It can be present either on the anterior or the posterior aspect. We don't know if it is always symptomatic, but it is unclear if it is a normal response to excising the meniscus during a routine total knee arthroplasty. Now, you can have a fracture of the polyethylene patella component which can be excised easily with the uh, knee arthroscopy. Recurrent hemarthrosis is a very difficult complication to treat. The incidence is about 0.3% to 1.6%. The most common frequent cause is the impingement of synovial proliferation. You can do an angio or a MRA to rule out pseudoaneurysm, AV fistulas, or a vascular injury. Kawata et al. Concluded that a remnant of lateral meniscus could be a cause of recurrent hemarthrosis after TKA, and consequently, in all such cases, arthroscopic examination should be considered. In a post-TKA patient, PVNS is also a common reason for a recurrent hemarthrosis. Now, arthrophyprosis is a common condition after a total knee replacement. You can have dense synovial adhesions in the suprapatellar notch, suprapatellar pouch, and medial and lateral synovial recesses. And they were noted in many patients with arthrophyprosis. And this can be addressed nicely with arthroscopic arthrolysis, in which we release all the fibrous bands in the suprapatellar pouch. We re-establish the medial and lateral gutter. We release the patella. We resect the remaining meniscal tissues, and we resect the anterior cyclops lesion. Now, dense synovial adhesions in the suprapatellar pouch and the medial and lateral synovial recesses were noted in all the patients, and occasionally you can have polyethylene fractures, loosening of button, and chronic infections in patients who are presenting with a painful dysfunctional total knee arthroplasty. So arthroscopically is important and is useful, and it can identify an origin and establish the origin of symptoms in most of the patients of painful knee arthroplasty, and these patients can have either infections or infrapatellar spurs, and operative arthroscopy was performed in about more than half of these patients, and in some of these patients revision surgery was indicated. Now, in a study by Johnson et al., there were patellar subluxation in 5 patients, loose bodies in 3 patients, fibroarthrosis in 2 patients, hemarthrosis in 2 patients, and pseudomeniscus in 2 patients. There was a mean improvement in pain. The mean perioperative pain score was improved from 25 to 45. That is an 80% improvement. About 11 of the 14 patients has 70% of patients has no facial limitation or limb. In fibroarthrosis patients, the flexion improved from 68 degrees to around 102 degrees. That is around 30 degree of flexion improvement after the arthroscopy. Yet the role is limited. The indication of arthroscopy in a painful knee arthroscopy processes are very limited, and in some patients, without a preoperative diagnosis, they may help. The relative good indications are limited range of motion and the suspicion of a polyethylene wear. So these was the conditions in which arthroscopic treatment can help. So in a study of 48 total knee arthroplasty who complain of knee pain before the surgery, 47% has clicking or clunking, 35 of these knee have difficulty in climbing stairs, 9 have motion problems. The mean follow-up was 32 months, and no components was found loose at the time of arthroscopy, and arthroscopic treatment of peripatellar fibrosis was unpredictable. Arthroscopic management is recommended. However, limited and specific surgical goals should be established after thorough discussion with the patient prior to the intervention. So this is a study by Klinger et al., 27 patients with improvement of knee score, function, and pain. So this is a study by Jarosh, published in Arthroscopic Knee KSTTA Journal. 32 knees was done. 25 had good results. All knees have intra-articular fibrous adhesions, hypertrophic synovitis, and peripatellar adhesions. 8 patients had an anterior cyclops, 6 patients had pseudomeniscus, 19 patients there is a medial and lateral release of patella was performed, and only 5 patients got an isolated lateral release. And most of these patients have an improvement in knee society score from 70 to 86. Now, doubtful infection is one of the indication in which arthroscopy can be performed. Arthroscopy is usually helpful in those patients in which there is a doubtful infection, because it allows a synovial biopsy and cultures which could establish the diagnosis of infection. So it can be a helpful, safe and effective method for evacuations of hematoma after the total knee arthroplasty. Now, some cases we do arthroscopic release. So this patient, 8 months after TKA, there was a substantial lateral tilt, and she was addressed with a arthroscopic lateral release, and we released the lateral compartment from a superolateral portal in an inside out way. And once we do a thorough release, the tracking was improved and the patellar tilt was significantly improved and restored. So this is a good indication. So the success rate of arthroscopy, when we talk about soft tissue impingement, it is about 85%. When we talk about arthrofibrosis, it is about 90%. But when we talk about periprosthetic infection, it is around 55%. So it is relatively less recommended. It is better if the organism is streptococcal species, because streptococcal is a low capacity for biofilm formation as compared with staphylococcus. So if you have a patient who has a streptococcal infection, you can still think of an arthroscopic treatment as compared to a staphylococcus species. If it is a staphylococcus species which is causing infection, it is better to do an open arthrotomy and a debridement surgery. Now, technical problems when you are dealing with a knee arthroscopy after a total knee replacement, you can have a mirror phenomenon, because you will have two images because of the mirror phenomenon of the shiny total knee component. And you can do micro abrasions on the components. You can damage the component because of micro abrasions. And the pearl is, if you want to prevent any micro abrasions, you can use a plastic cannula as compared to a metal cannula, and that will reduce the abrasions problems. Thank you.